Greetings from Bainbridge First Baptist Church, Bainbridge Island, Washington. It is June 10th. I can't believe I just said that. June 10th. What happened to the first 5 months of the year? It's amazing, isn't it? Time really passes quickly when you sit at home with nothing to do. When you're, our situation. At any rate, this has been a pretty climactic time in the life of America and in the life of our church. Of course, I don't need to remind you of that. And so I was thinking about some of the hidden agendas about things that are going on these days. And we can be critical of other people. But I guess this evening what I'd like to speak about is hidden things that could be in our own lives. And so Psalm 139 and verse 12, according to the way I view it, as you read it, you'll probably hear it differently than I say it. But that verse goes, "Yes, the darkness doesn't hide me from you. Even when it is dark, you see me like it is day. It makes no difference to you whether it's night or day, you still see me." Of course, it doesn't read that way in the scriptures, but that's the intent of it. Really, nothing is very hidden in the face of our God. People scurry around under the cover of darkness or behind masks because their deeds are evil. Somehow they think they'll not be found out. We will never have answers to our questions concerning who is responsible for the current anarchy. Yet God is in heaven, and you may be sure that He is well aware of what's going on. Hiding is usually a negative thing, right? We think of it sort of as something we need to do so we can hide something. But really, hiding is a good thing if we hide in the right place, if we hide in God. Psalm 27 is a good example of the scriptures concerning this hiding that's done in a positive sense. Psalm 27, 1 through 5, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength, or the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in His temple. For in the time of trouble," here it is, "He shall hide me in His pavilion. In the secret of His tabernacle shall He hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock." And so the first thing we do when we're under attack, or when it rains or whatever, we get under cover. And the first thing we should want to do in life is to hide in our God, because it's really the only true shelter. And by the time we get to Psalm 27 and verse 9, we hear the cry of the psalmist, "Hide not thy face far from me." And so there's something that can cause God not to allow us to hide in Him. And so we know what that is, and it's usually some sinful action of ours. And so we need to ever be aware of our accountability to God. So when we are sinning, we are trying to hide the sin and not be accountable, with the net result ending outside the protection of God. The sinful rebellion of today does not want to be accountable. I know you've probably watched the news, heard enough about that, but it's just my opinion that they don't want to be accountable. They don't want to have maybe a church, a pastor, a policeman, a school teacher to tell them how to live. They want freedom. And in the seeking of freedom, they actually imprison themselves in a fear of being captured, discovered, and certainly not having and enjoying the satisfying aspects of life. While you're out protesting and throwing bottle rockets and bombs and so on, you're not exactly sitting by the beach enjoying life. And so sinful rebellion can be rather captivating. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 5 tells us God will bring to light the hidden things of darkness. You can count on that. If you've ever watched children play hide and seek, it's almost ridiculous. It's kind of silly because they have a hard time staying hidden. Recently I saw my granddaughter playing hide and seek with her mother, and her mother was slow in getting to her, and she says, "I'm hiding up here." She was upstairs hiding. And when we sin and try to hide it from God, it's just about that silly. Because God, well, certainly that silly, because God knows everything. So those who have received mercy from the Lord in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 2 are told to renounce the hidden things of dishonesty. When we're walking in the light, we see dishonesty, crafty manipulations, and the misusing of the Word of God for personal gain or power or prestige. We see them for what they are. They're shabby, they're degrading, and below our calling. Why would any responsible and genuine servant of God use church for personal gain? When we understand we should decrease and he should decrease, we will not be tempted to exert ourselves to gain power or prestige within the assembly. Church is not a place to peddle our wares or polish our image. This sort of activity is dishonest in the face of our claim that we go to church just simply to worship and honor God. Colossians chapter 3 and verses 1 through 3 has a little more to say on this subject. Of course, anytime I can go to my favorite book and my favorite chapter, which is chapter 3, I do so. I'd like to read it to you. "If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sits on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. For you are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God." And so everything about us should be hid in God. And since that is the case, we know we can't bring along our sin as we hide in God, because it offends God. Anything we do that is not acceptable to God cannot be hidden. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 25. "Likewise also the good works of some are manifest beforehand, and they that are otherwise cannot be hid." You know, we think we can hide sin, and it may be we can hide it from some or all, but we can never hide it from God, and mostly we can't hide it from ourselves. We know what we did, and we feel badly about it. And so the best thing we can do with respect to hiding is to find refuge or hide in the Lord. Any attempt we may make to do something we shouldn't and hide it will result in being found out or being worried we will be exposed. I took a look at a commentator, and they said, "In the statement, 'Be sure your sin will find you out,' is revealed the mystery of sin. The nature of sin is such that, whether or not others discover your sin will discover you. You cannot run from the consequences. Sin carries within itself the power to pay the sinner back, and the sin's payback is hell. Don't even think about toying with sin. It cannot be tamed. It cannot be outrun or shaken off. No matter how safe you think you are, if you're a sinner, your sin will find you out." So, two things from this subject tonight, and then we'll be done. Be sure you hide yourself in God. Be sure of that. Be sure your first impulse is to hide, to run to God and hide in Him. And then, secondly, as we think of our lives, as we listen to the news, be sure the hidden things going on around us do not escape the attention of God. They can wear masks, they can work under the cover of darkness, but God's aware of what's happening. So take comfort in the fact that you can hide in God, and that whatever is going on, God knows about. So that's our study for tonight. And then I wanted to give you some church news, just some real quick bullets here. Looks like we have about 10 of them. The BHS baccalaureate service was held in the parking lot of our church. I must say it went well. It will probably be in the Bainbridge Review. The circle of people who attend our church have remained free of the virus, right? And we're happy about that. The Hagermans report some progress concerning their health. Lots of help these days from all their children, and they're happy about that. And then we plan to continue to hold our 11 a.m. services, and this Sunday the deacons will gather to determine if we will open up our evening services. Please pray for progress for the Gustafsons to depart for the Ukraine in July. Erica Tucker is having increased difficulties and was hospitalized at the beginning of the week. She could use our prayers. Sheltering in place is getting old for those who are completely isolated. We understand that, but we continue to pray for you and hope you can hang in there. Our country is in peril. Even Seattle has experienced some destruction and disturbance even with the closing of I-5 at certain times, and so it has struck close to home. Lastly, let's be thankful that we can have confidence in our good God. He will see us through this. And so I trust now that your family will, if you're watching this as a family or a couple, that you'll pause, have a moment of prayer, and delight yourself in hiding in God. See you soon.